a very, very powerful world leader. Sandy works in many countries. She is an expert in many fields, and she has this gift that she's going to talk about with us today. That's just amazing. I've only known Sandy a relatively short period of time, but it's incredible. Her gifts are very, very extensive and powerful. So I have not taken the power clearing, but I know how good it is. So I was also excited about being here because of that. So I'm so grateful you're here and to talk to us, Sandy.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to you about something that I love that's completely near and dear to me called the power clearing. And it's my privilege for the last, say, 9 days to be teaching the entire power of clearing process to a student who came from England. And the only reason that I could be here today is one of my coaches is taking my place. So I've been in this course for 9 days, actually 12 hours a day, imparting my 30 years of learning in the power of clearing to a new coach from England, who I met in England when I was teaching there, who wanted to become a power of clearing coach. So I do have these trainings mostly in Sweden, England, and here. And it's kind of like a joyous experience to get to be with somebody to share every aspect of it, of what the power of clearing has meant to me my whole life. It's kind of like my life study. So since I was a little girl, I had only one goal, which actually is to be clear and free. So when people used to ask me, what do you want, even as a little girl, I had the answer. The answer came very quickly. I only want peace. Now, I was always surprised by that answer because, I thought that was a very unusual answer for a little girl to give. And I had other interests. But from the time I was 7 years old, my main concentration was to attain peace. Later on, in studying a very famous book called A Course in Miracles, I really learned that that meant a peace of God. The peace of God. And that became really an awareness to me that I was really looking for the deepest peace I could have within myself. And I knew one day I would find a way to get it, but I knew I wasn't there as a child. I had no real knowledge of it as a child. I felt a lot of confusion, I felt a lot of chaos. I felt exactly the opposite in my house, growing up in New York City, in the Bronx, in a tenement with loads of people all around me, a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos. And I knew that my goal was inner peace. My mother even used to ask me, are you writing a book? I said, no, I just want to know this. I just want to know this. How will I get to inner peace? So it was, I'd say, a journey. I'm 66 today. I'd say it was a conscious journey from 7 years old to 66. My birthday isn't today, it's May 17th. That's Norwegian National Day. I'll be 67 on that day. So all those years I spent working with it. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me besides the birth of my daughter Chrisma and my grandchildren was that I received the power of clearing process in 1990, which took me to the journey to inner peace. So that's why I love it so much. No matter what's going on in what I call your ego mind, the power of clearing process will find the cause of it in your mind, and even if it doesn't go to the exact cause, it will take up the unconscious guilt. It will become forward in your mind, and you will be able to release whatever is bothering you and be at peace. So it was a funny thing today that I didn't get to do the whole clearing process today because I took the day off and gave it to one of my coaches. I started working with this with somebody in Sweden at 8:30 this morning on the power of clearing also. So I was doing it from 8:30 to 10:30. And in working with her, there's so many aspects to really being peaceful in the mind of our mind, in the part of our mind called the ego mind, because it can play for you many, many, many parts to serve you. Like mostly we're involved in a part that I call the attraction of guilt. All the things the ego can play for you that you would feel guilty for in your whole life that you ever thought, felt, or believed. And the second big thing that the ego plays for you is something that I call the fear of love, which would mean
all your barriers to being loved, feeling love, intimacy, oneness, oneness with yourself, oneness with God, whatever you call God. It's not necessarily a religious God, I definitely don't mean that. More like a consciousness, a oneness, a totality of existence. Anything that would stop you from being one or completely joined with love or peace. And she was telling me about a process that she's going through with her partner, in which she's totally afraid that they will break up and that she will never attain pure love and pure peace. And they've been working this process through for several months. And it's a privilege to give feedback on the process and clear about it. And I did the clearing with her on the telephone because it is a 3-part process. And it can take anywhere from 25 minutes, 15 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how deep and how many parts that the process goes to, whether it's your mother, whether it involves your mother, whether it involves your father, whether it involves yourself, one of your teachers, one of your best friends. The first part is all about the ego, the way it makes you feel, and where it goes back to in your childhood before you were 7 years old. Generally before you were 7 years old, when your consciousness was laid down with all the parts of your mind that has evidence that you should be fearful or worried or anxious. So it's all about clearing that all. It can sometimes just be an energy of fear or an energy of guilt that you're clearing. But it is working with the unconscious guilt of a person. And that's the most important part of the clearing, to clear the unconscious guilt. And few people ever get beyond the story of what this person did or said or what happened here or what happened there. They tell the story over and over and over to their friends, trying to collude and get what I call agreement, they're right, about what they think, feel, or believe about this other person and why they should separate and leave them. And why they should blame them or themselves. And they get the same story about themselves in their judgment as they do about others. So anytime we're blaming or judging, we are in a process to clear something. And we need tools. Nobody can make it in this world without tools. I'm not saying that you have to adopt my tools. I love my tools. I wouldn't trade them for anything. I said it was the greatest breakthrough I ever had in my life, to find the tool that no matter what I had in my mind, no matter what I was going through, no matter what those people were saying to me out there, no matter what my household looked like, in whatever way, that I had a tool to work with. And a tool that I could count on in any moment. It also has theories or principles, the power clearing process, that very much match A Course in Miracles, like principle number 1, where I'm never upset for the reason I think. There's always a deeper reason. That is why I'm upset. Principle number 2, there's nothing, everything that's happening, no matter what it looks like, is for my own best interest. Which means this, that it will lead me to a deeper place within myself that I can clear and release, and that I'm supposed to go there to get to another level of the depth of who I am. So it's kind of like an ongoing thing that I'm doing with myself every minute. No matter what you say to me, no matter what you're doing with me, if I see that I am disturbed, or what I would call triggered, or in my ego, which means I'm in my past, I know I have something to clear. And it's a practice. You know, some people are very into meditation, or walking, or praying. I use meditation and I use praying.